There is a provision in the Internal Revenue Code that allows you to rent your home to your business completely tax-free. The rental income is not subject to the income tax or the self-employment tax and is completely legal. Section 280A subsection G of the Internal Revenue Code. But before you go on to booking your dining table as your conference room, there are specific requirements that you have to meet. And ignoring them is exactly how this turns into an audit problem rather than a tax benefit. Today, we're going to see how this deduction actually works, what it can save you in taxes, and what are some of the non-negotiables from IRS point of view. So if you are ever questioned about this deduction, you are on the right side of the law. Hi, my name is Vijay Patel and I'm your 1099 tax coach. My goal with this channel is simple, and that is to help you make sense your 1099 taxes. Also, to keep you on the right side of the law and still point you towards real tax planning strategies that will help you real dollar in taxes. Now, before we jump into today's video, I want to go over two real quick things. First, this channel is for educational purposes only, and any information contained in this video or any other videos in this channel are simply for that reason only, and they're not specific tax advice. And second, if you haven't already, I would really love if everybody just subscribes to my channel, likes this video, and shares it with a colleague who you think could benefit. That helps the channel grow and help reach more people who can use the content of these videos. So let's dive in. First, let's start by reviewing what the Augusta Rule actually is, how it works, and how it can save you money. Code section 280A subsection G states that if you rent your personal home to anybody or any other businesses for up to 14 days in a tax year, then whatever rental income you have received is tax-free. You will not be charged any kind of income tax or self-employment taxes on that particular income. You don't get to write any expenses against that income as well. But the main part here is that up to 14 days, if you rent your home, then any rental income collected is tax-free. This particular deduction gets its name from Augusta, Georgia. Whenever the Masters golf tournament is held in Augusta, people around the golf courses, they rent their homes for a short duration of time for big dollars. And the IRS actually carved out this particular statute within the tax code, which allows them to collect that rental income tax-free as long as they meet the specific requirement, so that they can continue to do so and not have to worry about paying taxes on that income. The version that makes for contractors or consultant is that if you rent your home to your own business at a fair market value, a fair rental value, the business will get the deduction for any rental expense, but you, on the flip side, will not have to claim that income and pay any kind of income or self-employment taxes. So it's a nice little deduction on your personal taxes. Now let's take a look at the mechanics of this particular deduction, specifically how it applies to contractors or consultants. You, as a contractor or consultant, can rent your home to your business for up to 14 days in a tax year for any business-related meeting or any other business-related purposes. The business pays you rent, and business gets to write off that rent as an expense. You, on the other side, the rental income you receive is not subject to any kind of income tax or payroll taxes. Second point that I want to cover, and this is very important to keep in mind, that the business has to be a separate entity from you, the individual. If you are operating your business as a sole proprietorship or a single member LLC, then unfortunately this deduction will not work. Now remember, as far as the IRS is concerned, single member LLCs are disregarded entities and they're not separate from their owners. So IRS sees you and your single member LLC is just one taxpayer. So if you are a single member LLC or a sole proprietorship, then unfortunately this deduction will not work. But if you are operating your business as a C corporation or an S corporation or even a multi-member LLC that files as a partnership, then this will be a golden deduction for you to claim and then not be, on the flip side, not be subject to any kind of income or self-employment taxes. So that's how the deduction works in a nutshell. You can rent your home to your business for up to 14 days for any business-related meeting, board of directors meeting, or anything like that for legitimate business purpose. Business pays you rent. You get to exclude that rent from the income, but business gets to write off that expense on the business's tax return. So we reviewed how the deduction works and how it can save you money. Now, I want to go over a few points that are very important, and this is what the IRS looks at when they are reviewing this particular deduction. If any of these points is not met, the deduction will be not allowed. Point number one is that the actual rent that the business pays to you has to be backed up by a documented market comparison or a documented third-party appraisal. You can't just come up with a desired rent amount or deduction amount and just back into that number. Everything has to be able to prove by either documented market comparison or a documented market appraisal. The second thing that the IRS looks at is the actual meeting. The meeting that you rent your house to your business for has to be a legitimate business meeting with a real business purpose. You have to have the agenda of the meeting recorded, you have to have the minutes recorded, you have to have a sign-in sheet, and everyone who was present at the meeting has to sign in or sign out. So in a real meeting with a real business purpose, with real people. You cannot just make up things that more or less looks like a family gathering and call it a business meeting and then get to claim that deduction for the business. Now, the third point is the 14-day exclusion. As we mentioned, you can rent your home to your business for up to 14 days. If you go a day over, and the whole deduction is unfortunately falls apart. So you want to make sure that your duration for the year is up to 14 days and not a day more. You can always do less but for whatever reason you cannot reach for that 14 days, but you cannot go over that 14-day requirement. And fourth, and most important from my point of view, is that Section 162 requirement still applies. Section 162 says that any deduction you claim for your business has to be ordinary, necessary, and reasonable, and has to be backed up by real documentation that is recorded at the time, not whenever you get questioned or at a later date. So when you're claiming this deduction, you want to make sure that you meet that Section 162 requirement. Because IRS will look for it, and if they are not met, they will deny the entire deduction. So that's the Augusta Rule. To bring it all back for you in a nice summary, you as a contractor or consultant can rent your home to your business for up to 14 days in a tax year. The business pays you a fair, documented market rent, gets to claim that rent as an expense. You, on the flip side, gets to exclude that rent from your income. Everything has to be backed by real documentation, including the rent and the business purpose for the meetings, and all of those requirements are met, then this becomes a nice little deduction for your business, where money goes out of the business to you, but still it's a deduction for the business and non-taxable income to you. One of those requirements are not met, and this becomes a real audit nightmare. So you want to make sure that you follow the guidelines properly, document everything, and then be able to claim this deduction properly on your taxes. I hope this all makes sense to you. Before I sign off, actually, one last thing. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you think or if you know somebody who could benefit from the content of this video, make sure to forward them so they can also get educated on the content of these videos. Until next time, take care and bye-bye.